Hello, I'm going to talk about sort of my short journey in mosaics, but also how BAM and exhibiting has really impacted on my work. I started 15 years ago, and this is my first mosaic that I made out of recycled materials. And it's very appropriate because I actually run a bed and breakfast, and it still stands in my entrance hall. My second mosaic was this one, which was a garden table, which is why I did the first one to be able to learn the technique to do a garden table. Apologies for the small photograph. I didn't actually know about product photography at that point, and it wasn't relevant at that point of my life. That table fell apart quite quickly because it was completely the wrong materials. The following year, I did a mosaic for a friend who'd seen my table and wanted one for herself, and it was actually made out of a lot of her own crockery, so it had very significant impact, and we knew that it wasn't going to be frost-proof. And it did last quite a while, but again, it fell apart eventually. But it was actually very big and was way more ambitious than I should have ever done. So this was my first exhibition piece that I'd made in 2009 for the Opus Gallery in Exeter. And it's actually the one that I use as my icon on social media, or a snip of it still. Excuse me. And I remember we actually drove from Scotland down to Devon to deliver it, and I was very anxious. Then I exhibited in the first BAM exhibition for me at Lichfield, and I was really, really apprehensive about how well my mosaic was received. It was a juried exhibition, and I pushed myself to submit and got accepted. In the previous one, I set my style in flowers by that point. And then in the BAM exhibition in London, it was restricted by size. So this made me really work in minutiae, and I had to really develop cutting of my flower techniques. So my daisies have even expanded from there in terms of technicality. So it's led to me making a range of small, affordable art pieces on slate, all recycled materials, which allows me to sell in craft fairs and Etsy and that end of the market. And I've also built up some other sort of merchandise as well. And I use mostly bone china and wine bottle glass for the materials. And then these I can elaborate and build up bigger structures. I also, in the center of the flowers, are little fused glass nuggets that I make out of scrap of glass, which I fuse down, and so they're just happy accidents as they come out. And whoever got my bag has got some of those in their bag. And I've developed these little mosaics, still keeping with that precision of cutting. They're very small mosaics that I do birds and flamingos and fish, and they tend to be end-of-day ceramic, sort of like the scraps from a bigger project I use in these little pieces. This is a piece that I made for a gallery in my town, which is quite a high-end art gallery, and I take great delight in being the first mosaic artist that they've ever had, and I take pleasure out of that. Don't know why, but it's extending my technical ability to cut flowers into larger, more ambitious projects. And this one, by contrast, was done for a woman who looked out over her kitchen window, over a path to a pebble dash garage, and was fed up at looking at grey. So she commissioned me to make this very large panel that went on the wall. So it's all made out of really highly fired ceramic and glass, using up lots of scraps in my scrap box. So it will last the test of time. This was made recently, and it's quite a poignant one for me because the red and orange feathers were actually made out of a mug that had a chicken on it. And the tail feathers were from Eccleshall Parish Church, which was my dad's church. So both of those were from my dad's cupboard. So it was quite sort of moving for me to make it. By contrast, this one is large, and my husband thought I should have brought this to the exhibition yesterday, but it won't actually fit in my car, so it's that big. And the picture doesn't really do it justice because it's got a lot of mirror and shiny faceted bits, so it's very hard to get the kind of the dimensions, and it's a keeper. It's going to stay in our house because we like it. Going back to 2012, I put this into an open exhibition in my area, and it won Best in Show. And so the consequences of that was that I got the gallery space as an exhibition space. So I had an exhibition in 2014 and earlier on this year that I curated, inviting other artists because it is a vast space and I could never fill it myself. And it's a great way to network with other people, but it also, I'm now working on a very big commission for the gallery space over this winter. Going back to 2014, I attended Laurel True's workshop with a stinking hangover, don't know why, and I learned the tile tape at mounting adhesive tape technique, which has enabled me to work in kind of really tiny detail to then apply onto other projects. So that bit's actually on the mannequin legs. And I would never, I mean, the pieces were actually almost too small for mesh. So, and I've used this technique to work with schools where the teacher, me talking her through the process, set everything out on sticky back plastic. I then went down and we edited some of them and then applied them to the wall. And then that's what the resulting wall was. So it ended up filling in the gaps were done direct, and the tree was done direct, and all the pupils actually did a leaf that had their name on it. So each child did a piece of the, within the school did a piece. So I think there was something like 5 owls, 4 butterflies, 7 squirrels. I included this piece because it was, I know that it actually came through the BAM website that she found. It's in near Falkirk. And I was approached to submit a quote to it, and we changed the design slightly because I felt that their design wasn't that great. It was a guiding group, so we included the elements of the guiding. So that's why I've included that one, because you just never know what you get up on the BAM website. And finally, this is the piece that I put into the exhibition that's down at Patriot Hall. And it's my Paolozzi's garden imagined using the colours, the bright colours of the mosaic, but the sombre sculpture. And it looks tiny compared to some of the other exhibits in the exhibition. Okay, thank you.